Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 1st of April. No April Fools here. We're starting with the Dow on this look, and you can see maintains its bullishness. No change in that. If we go to the S&P, S&P has been in between the bearishness of the NASDAQ and the bullishness of the Dow, and has been a little bit of a mixed bag, but still overall bullish. And if we look then at the NASDAQ's been the weaker, but you can see here the beginnings, in a lot of cases, of some nice turnarounds to the buy side. And if we look at our exotics, high flyers, they've been under a lot of pressure and have corrected quite a significant amount, but well within reason, and certainly has not impacted the overall market peaks. So if they've completed their correction phase, they will lift the market to new highs. I forgot to show it the other day before I didn't have it turned on, the MBI indicator. The reason we had converted, well, at least I had made the adjustments to the algorithms on the D-Omega converted setups here was to avoid these kind of situations where an MBI would come in a little premature to what our readings were, and this is where the converted aspect allowed us to capture the exact bottom rather than suffering any drawdown that some people might get caught into. I mean, you can see MBIs in the past and this current one coming at market highs, and typically when they do happen at these peaks, usually pretty decent. Obviously, it produced a significant gain, and anytime we open, a couple of points above the close of an MBI, which the gap open, it's a clear buy from that point anyway. So good to see that. Now, looking at the readings, that's a different story. I mean, we're already starting now to see the day begin. Well, it hasn't really begun much, but potential for a dip back below the red white here. Also pivot lower on the steel, and cyan rising. Not anything to be hyperly concerned about. You just had a little bit of a push, and likely that we pull back into it a little bit. Here we go with the deep red on the NQ, and even though it's got what we would consider buy crossover setups on those, unlikely to be able to sustain that, which means that it's likely to come back, retest this dip here below the red line sooner rather than later. And this is the nice feature of having the deep red, where before times we would talk about retraces of the positive, I mean not positive extreme, but the dip below the red line, and you could have a significant move to the high side before it happened. This gives us a little earlier indication that it's not going to be as significant a pop. Now that can clear, it just has to jump through some hurdles. You're going to have the green get above the cyan, or you're going to have the steel dip below the cyan and back above again, and that's not going to happen for days. So do we expect more of the same? With the Dow right here poised to get back to its new highs, likely to break above that. May just see a little bit. Now, it's interesting because it's forming a pink dot, and that is because we're starting to see a spread here of where the cyan moves above the green, and also dips below the green, dips below the red here. Now, the red will need to move eventually below the white for it to then carry itself through. Last time it happened was right over here. Back one candle right there. So broke through, red was below, but didn't happen at a concentration where you're at the zero level, which is a little bit stronger point to be right at that concentration of vortex. So worth being cautious on breakouts with that. Does it mean you avoid it? No, it just means you are more judicious with your stops. Scrolling through some of the basics, I think what we'll do is we'll just flip through these. They're not showing anything particular. Gold still in its cycle down. No change there. That means SLV is right alongside of it. X had been doing fine. CLF, a little bit of a pop coming off of its last move. It's just still kind of stuck. This is going to be kind of a pivotal point of breakout here, and we could see this thing pop back up to the 24 plus range. Is just taking a little while for it after it had its steep move to consolidate, and actually it's been a couple of months that it's taken to do that. What I thought we would do is go and run through, we can look at AIG real quick because we always go over that one. doing just fine with it. Its setup. Tesla was one that we talked about before, and I got some people telling me I was out of my mind. The decline was done, had the little pop up, and I'm like, yeah, it pops up anymore. You really just want to be shorting into all of those up moves and taking the gains, and popped up nicely and sold off the entire day. I think from a 78-minute chart, it was just, and this is reflective of the whole thing coming all the way down from there. I mean, that pretty much tells the story. Let's run through some of the alert dailies. Let me put those up real quick. Well, let's look at the 50K while we're at it first. Had its signal, and that was just number of bars, and it took a trailing stop for a slight gain, which is unfortunate because right at the poise point of another pivot up right there, and it just took off. Doing fine with that so far. Let me get the other chart up here. We'll start with Google. This is one I put up before. Deep red, and sure enough, even in the pops, I was saying we're shorting it. We had been looking for that retest there, so it's always nice to revisit these after looking at something like this, or tell you it's going to continue, and sure enough, clearly does just that. I need to link this real quick. All I did there real quick is I linked my chart to my little thing. And let's click on a couple of the others. Apple, not doing a whole lot. How about Amazon? Okay, so still deep in the red there from that cascade lower, and sure enough, likely to retest those lows, and that's exactly what it's doing. Let's look at Netflix real quick. My goodness, it's so slow. It's usually much faster than that. Well, it's probably because we're recording with the HD. Netflix, woo, yeah, that's been an easy short. No change in that position. No getting fooled by any conversion on that with the deep red. And this is just what makes that so fantastic, to have that understanding of when it's safer. Don't want to say more safe compared to something else, but it's just safer in the sense that, all right, yes, this can still pop up significantly, but the reality is the indications from inside the algorithm are just saying that there's just so much more distribution than there is any buying that's going to sustain anything. And even with PCLN, I mean, you have these big up gaps. There was, it's turned around, and what's happened? It sells right into it. So no real change with what's going on there. So you can clearly see these are some big names that have all had huge runs and are just getting decimated. Well, let's look at the daily of Tesla. Yeah, that's an ugly 78 minute. There we go. So Tesla, I talked about this. I posted this very thing right here, and any pop to be sold, and sure enough, there it goes. So doing right what our expectations are. Love that. Twitter, likewise. Well, we should look at the daily on this one. I have both of those set for intraday. Also, black, that means the deep dark red, so expecting that to trail off on this up move. And some people say, well, does that mean I short it? Well, you can short it directly or on the pop. You buy yourself your put with your expectation of lower, because we're not expecting that it's going to take a while, that it should happen within a reasonable period of days. We're looking at daily charts, so you got to give it some time. But likewise, Baidu on the nice pop signal has faded in each and every one of those setups. Always nice to look at all of these different ones. And here you go, Fasna. See, this is one that had it in there, and then boom, turned around, started the day green, and nice pop from that. Interesting to see that one. We don't want to look at the FAS. Let's look at Facebook. FAS is just going to be the invert Facebook. It's ugly that it is not stopped, and doesn't look set to. So it's a nice run through some of those. We can look at the intraday from Monday real quick on the 5K. Let's do that. All right, here's the 5K resuming from what we had. And I had posted these so that people could see. And then Friday we had our long signal that ended it, came up through the wee hours, gapped up, and then boom. Now, in between doing that, it had created a couple of positive extremes down here, but was not ready for any of those to be retraced at the particular time. Then all of a sudden, everything's going wonderful, and then lo and behold, the dark red shows up, and it's freak out time because we're in this beautiful uptrend. There's no reason we should have a pullback. Well, yeah, it was a good signal for the pullback, and in fact, we came back, and what were we looking for it to retrace? Yeah, just a positive extreme, nothing too dramatic. And then when it did that positive extreme retest, it produced a nice little buy conversion, because what happened was right here, this was a critical point in the dark red trend part of just adjustments of programming that I'm doing. The steel moved above, but then it moved back below the cyan. Well, that's phase one of ending the downturn. And then right about here, it popped back above, and that effectively ends the dark red. That's the criteria. The alternative one would be having the green move above the cyan, all of which I'm putting into the program. So whether you missed that version of it, even the one that was right here was just 2 bars later, right down at the bottom to flip over, and that allowed for a green move. But then we got overbought, which left for a nice short. And then what happened was, once it started getting into that point, we started getting this bouncing activity. And it was pretty much just a straight across trade. Now, it's interesting. We're starting the market open in the deep red. Go figure that. So that becomes an opportunity to short here in the wee hours of the morning. So we'll see how that one plays out. Most people would be, oh no, it's just going to keep rising. Well, it's possible, but hasn't really seen that kind of activity happen. What I would be looking for is the fact that we dipped below the red line right here, get 2 purple ones. It did retrace that early on, but if it gets overbought in the pre-market, that would be the opportunity. If you're seeing this a little bit later, could be an overbought situation that makes for a very, very attractive retest, because even if it gets up here, you're likely at least to retest this complete red, so the dark red at least. Hope that helps. As always, though, continue to look for me on the private Twitter feed. I will be continuing some programming, because I want to get some of these conditions set up to make it beautiful, so that when you see the colors, you know exactly what to get, and then you don't have to worry about as much of the transitioning and paying attention to some of the DOC readings, because I will have incorporated it all for you, making it super simple, hopefully, if there is such a thing. Trade well.